The 2024 ASEAN Championship has already begun, but obviously I have yet to do a preview or predictions video for this competition. So what I decided to do is I asked 10 people from each of the 10 national teams competing in the ASEAN Championship and let them give me their thoughts and their opinions on who to look out for their team and what the expectation is for each team. Obviously, before we get started, please do hit the like button on this video. Subscribe to my channel down over here, and obviously follow me on X, on Twitter, as well as I am doing plenty of live watch-alongs for this competition. And obviously the first one will be the Philippines versus Myanmar game on Thursday, early for me, but Thursday, this coming Thursday, it will be the Philippines versus Myanmar, and obviously I will be doing my first live watch along of the tournament. For that, I'm doing a lot more, so please subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss on any of those live watch alongs, and just give me your thoughts and your expectations for your team heading into the ASEAN Championship. So we will be going through each of the teams in the order of that you guys see them. Obviously it says playoff winner over here, but we'll call it East Timor because obviously we know they've qualified. So we'll start off with Thailand. Now I would like to give a shout out to Ake. Obviously he's been on the channel so many times during the Euros and other competitions that I've done live watch-alongs in, so I like to give him a big shout out. Obviously a big Thailand fan. Now obviously heading into this tournament, Thailand are the seven-time champions of this competition. They are back-to-back 2 times in this competition, and in 4 of the last 5 competitions of this tournament they have won it, Thailand. So Thailand are going into this tournament probably with the highest expectations of winning it again. Now, a player to look out for this Thailand team is a player I would like to say to look out for is Superchok Sarachat. He's one of Thailand's best midfielders. If you guys remember, he scored a goal at the Asian Cup against Uzbekistan, I believe. He is definitely one of Thailand's better players in this squad. Now, obviously, preparations has been a bit mixed with Thailand. However, it doesn't really matter because Thailand are still probably going to be a very strong contender to win this competition and are expected to win this tournament. And I'll be honest, I would be very, very shocked if Thailand gets eliminated from this competition. And now the next team to talk about is over here. We have Malaysia. I would like to give a shout out to JC Boo. On Discord, I asked him, he's a Malaysia fan, and he said that Malaysia have gone through a massive revamp. Obviously, they've gone through a managerial change from Kim Pangon to Pau Morty, the Spanish coach. But the preparations has been pretty decent-ish at the moment heading into this tournament. Obviously, a lot of new players in this Malaysia team. I believe 9 of the players in the team are making their international debut with Malaysia, so there's a lot of team chemistry that needs to be building into this team. But a player to look out for is Fergus Tierney. He actually did score against Cambodia the other day. I think the equalizer, I believe. But yeah, he's a player to look out for. He will probably provide some attacking threat for the Malaysia team. Now, a crucial game that they could be looking out for is their away game against Thailand, if they can at least compete at that level. But I think a game to look out for is their game against Singapore on the final match day at home in Kuala Lumpur. Obviously, the expectations with this Malaysia team is relatively high, and you could expect Malaysia to potentially go far in this competition, but also I would say do not be surprised if Malaysia gets eliminated in the group stage of this competition. I want to talk about the third team from Group A is right here. We have Singapore. Singapore, I would like to give a shout out to LFC1AN. I believe his name is Ian, but correct me if I'm wrong. I got him on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. Obviously, you guys can follow my Twitter, my X over here. But yeah, he's a Singapore fan. I asked him a few things. The preparation for Singapore has probably been the best out of all of the teams from what I've seen from each of the fans that I've asked. They've gone through a lot of preparation, changing the lineup style and the tactical play, and they've picked up wins and losses, but they have been doing pretty well in terms of preparation. They are one of the teams that have yet to play in this competition as of this recording, but I would say a player to look out for is Kyoga Nakamura. He is one of Singapore's naturalized players. He is perhaps Singapore's best midfielder. He has a very smart range of passing accuracy and a very high attacking IQ, which I think will be a massive help for Singapore if they were to go far in this competition, because Singapore have won 4 ASEAN Championships, but they have not won it since 2012. So it's been a 12-year wait for Singapore at the moment. Now, I would say the big one is against Malaysia in terms of the games that they have in this group to potentially progress further into this competition. I think if Singapore do manage to beat Malaysia, I think Singapore will go through in their group. And to be honest, expectations has been relatively fluctuating from good to bad, but more so in that medium tier, whereby there's hope for Singapore, but there's not going to be that over expectation that Singapore will win this competition. I think a lot of Singapore fans just want their team to do well in this competition, and hopefully progress in this competition, because they have not reached the semifinals in many of the previous and most recent editions of this competition. So it is more likely they'll be eliminated in the group stage, but I think Singapore are a very good pick to make a potential semi-final run. And if they're somehow really up for it, they could make a run to the final, in which they've never lost a ASEAN Championship final when they get there. So who knows what the Singapore team can bring. A 4th team from Group A, and the next team we'll talk about is the team right here, is Cambodia. Now, I did ask this fan, and he said he wants to remain anonymous, so I messaged him on Discord what his thoughts on his team. So I'm not going to mention him because he wants to be anonymous, but he said the preparation of Cambodia heading into the competition has been relatively decent, surprisingly, even though Cambodia have been knocked out of Asian Cup qualifying for the 3rd round. So Cambodia aren't even going to have a chance at making the competition in the next Asian Cup, let alone the qualifiers of it. But a player to do look out for is Andreas Nieto. He is a relatively new player in terms of the national team setup. He is a attacking midfielder that plays for Phnom Penh Crown. He scored 4 in his 9 appearances in the AFC Cup, which is like the Asian version of the Europa League. Now, a potential clash, and one that has actually happened, is against Malaysia, and obviously they got the draw against Malaysia, and that probably does provide a bit of help for this Cambodia team in terms of how far they can go in this competition, whether they can make the semifinals for the very first time in the history in this competition. But all in all, the expectations amongst the Cambodia fans is still going to be likely a group stage exit. But there has been improvements despite the failure of not even making Asian Cup qualifiers. But we'll see if any of the Cambodia players step up, and who knows, maybe Cambodia could be a very, very sneaky surprise package at this competition. But the more likely is that Cambodia will probably be eliminated in 4th, at best maybe 3rd place, but basically not good enough to make it into the semi-final, and that is probably going to end up being Cambodia's fate in this edition. Now, the final team from Group A, I know it's right over here. I know it doesn't say it, but it is East Timor or Timor-Leste. They're basically the San Marino of this competition. Even before they played Thailand and lost 10-0, I did expect East Timor are probably going to be the worst team in this competition, and obviously it didn't help that they lost 10-0 to Thailand. So yeah, the expectations is super low. They're going to get grouped. That's not even without any sort of premise on East Timor. However, a player to do look out for East Timor. I forgot to mention a shout out to Lam, or LAM 2411 on Discord. Shout out, he is an East Timor fan. He's been following the team for a bit. But a player to look out for is Paulo Gali Vietas, who did score in that qualifying match against Brunei. If East Timor were to score a goal, it is more likely going to be through him. He's probably their best player, probably the only player that everyone knows about from East Timor. But the preparation has not been that great for East Timor, even before that loss to Thailand. Now, if East Timor were to pick up a point, that would be amazing. But I will be completely honest, there's not much to really go off of this East Timor team. The best chance they have is probably going to be not losing games heavily, but that didn't help that they lost 10-0 to Thailand earlier in this competition. But obviously, there might be a hope that maybe they can pick up a point, and that is more likely going to be when they play Cambodia, most likely, but they're still going to finish bottom of this group. Group B will start, well, I know I'm not pointing to them directly, but it is Vietnam, and obviously I would like to give a shout out to the fan of Vietnam, that being Taylor LFC on Discord. Obviously, he's been on the tendeitem channel a couple of times, but not as recent as almost a year or two ago. But he did talk about that Vietnam's preparation heading into this tournament has been relatively okay-ish, but it's been stagnant over the past year or so for Vietnam. Obviously been knocked out of the Asian Cup in Qatar almost a year ago. But a player to do look out for is Nguyen Thien Linh, who obviously did score against Laos the other day. But he is probably Vietnam's most attacking player. Another player I would like to mention is Nguyen Cang Hai. Obviously, a lot of this Vietnam team, the players in this team are players that are part of the senior team. Most of the other teams aren't really sending the best teams, but Vietnam are sending practically their actual genuine senior team that is likely going to play in multiple competitions for the senior team. So this Vietnam team is likely going to have a lot more experience compared to the other teams in their group, and that might be an advantage for them. And obviously the crucial match is probably when they host Indonesia in their second game. Obviously we know that Indonesia does have the better hand over Vietnam during this calendar year of 2024. So if Vietnam gets a win in their game against Indonesia, it will really help their confidence and boost them up to possibly succeed and win this competition. Now, in terms of expectations from the fans, of Vietnam fans, it's probably fluctuating from champions to a group stage exit, surprisingly. But I think with the experience that this Vietnam team has heading into this competition, I do think that that Vietnam are probably going to be pretty decent in this competition, and I do think they will make it through the group. Whether they make the final, I am not sure, or even win it, I'm not entirely sure. But we'll have to wait and see how this Vietnam team goes. But it is Indonesia in Group B. Now, Indonesia are practically the talk of the town. But I would like to give a shout out, a mention to I Am Gazer. I hope I said that right. On Discord, he's an Indonesia fan, but obviously there's tons of Indonesia fans. I mean, even the people that aren't even Indonesians support Indonesia. But yeah, it is more likely that Indonesia will bring their under-22 squad, which they mostly have. But a player to do look out for, and a lot of people know him by now, is Marcelino Ferdinand. He was the one that scored the 2 goals against Saudi Arabia in that 2-0 win that I actually did a live watch along for. I got like 3-4K views on that. But yeah, big up to all the Indonesia fans that watched that. Hopefully they will turn up in their numbers when I do watch alongs for this competition for Indonesia. But yeah, the expectations for Indonesia are sky high. I mean, Indonesia are likely going to, whether they'll win the tournament remains to be seen, but they are going to be expected to go far in this competition, even with the U22 team, majority of them. Obviously, there are some experienced players like Asnawi, Marcelino, Pratama, to name a few, that have the experience of playing against a team like Saudi Arabia and other teams in the World Cup qualifiers. But I think a crucial match for Indonesia is that away game against Vietnam. As I said, if they win that is 4 wins in a row against Vietnam in terms of like the senior level. So that would be pretty good for Indonesia if they get a massive result away at Vietnam. Now, will they win the tournament? I am not quite sure yet. I'll give my prediction on them in a while. But yeah, Indonesia are probably going to be a lot of people's favorites to win this competition, and don't be surprised if Indonesia ends up winning this competition. But here's a fun fact, or maybe not a fun fact: Indonesia has never won the ASEAN Championship ever. They made 6 finals of the ASEAN Championship and won a grand total of 0 in 6. That is terrible. Now, maybe if Indonesia make the final this time around, maybe they'll change it, or it'll be the 7th time unlucky. But who knows with this Indonesia team heading into this competition. It is my team, the Philippines. I know I have the jersey with me and everything and all that. Obviously, Philippines is my team. And obviously, if you guys don't know, if you guys are trying to blame me for looking fake, here's my Filipino passport. Yes, I am Filipino. So I can speak with passion and all that. Obviously, you guys know me with the Romanian, Spain connections, but this is like my number one national team, even though I hate them so much. But I would like to give a shout out, obviously, to Average Win Guy on Discord. Obviously, he does have X and Twitter. He's been on my channel a couple of times. But yeah, I asked him about our national team, the Philippines, because I didn't want just my opinion, but I asked his opinion on Philippines. Obviously, we have a new manager with Albert Capelas in charge, and it's been more of like just making sure that we can improve on the defense and offense, practically the entire team. But a player to do look out for, and I would like to give a massive shout out to this player, and because he's probably a player that is very underrated, is someone that is Patrick Reichelt. He is 36 years old right now, but he is going to potentially play in his potentially last ASEAN Championship. He's been a mainstay of this Philippines team throughout the good times in the 2010s and through the bad times in the past like 5-6 years. Obviously failing to make the Asian Cup in the last time around, which is unfortunate. But the less said about that, the better. But yeah, he is a player to do look out for in terms of the experience that he can bring for our national team heading into this competition. But you know, there are some other players like Gioso that could also come in, and maybe players like Woods as well. But to be honest, I would probably say Patrick Reichelt just for the experience. Now, obviously, a very crucial game for the Philippines is when we host Myanmar, which I'm doing the first live watch along. I swear to God, I hope we do not lose that game. But if we win that game, it does give just a little bit of confidence back into this national team. I think we really need to gain some confidence heading into the next few games. Obviously, the home match against Myanmar, the first game for us in Manila, it has to be a win. Obviously, it's the same thing that Average Wine Guy has told me that is crucial in this competition. But also the other home game against Vietnam is going to be quite interesting to look out for. But as I said, the Myanmar home game on Thursday, live watch along on my YouTube channel. That's going to be a big one. That has to be a win. From a Philippines perspective, we have to win. Anything less than a win, we're getting grouped even more. However, expectations, including myself and Average Wine Guy, we have said the expectations are low, and a lot of Filipino fans do have that low expectation on our team. Obviously, we've been knocked out of the group stage in the past 2 editions, and 3 of the last 4 editions we've been knocked out of the group stage. After back in the early 2010s, we made 3 consecutive semifinals. But yeah, things have not looked good for Philippines over time. However, obviously, if there is any hope, maybe we can make the semifinal, but I'll just keep my expectations low. I do not want to put too much hope. I've hated on my national team for a year or 2 already in terms of the men's game. I don't even want to name the AZKALS because they do not deserve that title anymore. But I'm just going to say we're probably going to get eliminated in the group stage. I will be completely honest. At best, if we really do well, semifinal, but that's really the ceiling for the Philippines. I think that's probably the fairest to assess with Philippines. It's Myanmar in Group B. Now, Myanmar head into this competition with balanced preparation. I'd also like to give a shout out to 72PTG on Discord. He is a Myanmar fan, Burmese fan. Obviously, as I said, Myanmar have a balanced preparation heading into this competition. Obviously, they did lose to Indonesia, and he did say that was the crucial game for Myanmar. And, just based on that game, Myanmar do look good against a obviously younger Indonesia team, but Myanmar were probably unlucky not to get a result in their opening game, and that will probably define the tournament in terms of Myanmar probably not having enough. But a player to do look out for in terms of the attacking quality is Ye Ying Ong. He is a winger who's been in red hot form actually for Myanmar and just his teams overall. He scored 7 in his last 8 or 9 matches so far for club and country. Now, obviously, expectations from Myanmar fans has been relatively low, just because Myanmar don't really have much of a history of progressing through the semifinals. They've only made it twice in their history, that being in 2004 and 2016, when the tournament only had a small amount and a different format to this one. But Myanmar are probably expected to be eliminated in the group stage, and I honestly do not think that Myanmar are going to go into the semifinal, if I'm going to be completely honest. Before I give my predictions, is Laos a little bit more further away over there. But Laos, I would like to give a shout out to Mark.Doofus on Instagram. I messaged him. He's a Laos fan, and he gave me his thoughts and opinions on Laos, because I don't really know much of Laos, but he did say that Laos are, having to go through a rough sort of preparation. I mean, they lost 3-1 to Malaysia in their friendly, but then they drew 1-1 against the back-to-back defending champions Thailand in their most recent friendlies. But it kind of shows that Laos can perform well, but also just not really perform well. But the player to do look out for is the player that actually scored a penalty against Vietnam, and that was Bonpachan Bonkon in the last minute of that game against Vietnam. He is obviously Laos's best attacking outlet. He has scored now his 7th goal for the national team, and he is the squad for this competition. He is Laos's top scorer now with 7 goals. So yeah, this team's not really known for scoring amongst the rest of their team, but obviously that first match against Vietnam was probably crucial in terms of just picking up something in this competition. But maybe the next one is, in terms of crucialness, is probably, you can say the home game against Philippines, but I'll probably say the away game, the final game against Myanmar, if they want to pick up a win, because Laos haven't actually won a game in almost 20 years already in this competition. So if they were to get a win, it'll probably be against either us, more likely. I definitely know it will be against us. I know it. If not, it's Myanmar. But Laos's expectations are extremely low at the moment. They are probably going to be eliminated in the group stage in either 4th or 5th, and that'll probably be the best that Laos will finish at in this competition this year. Now, in terms of Group A, I will actually say the top 2 teams that will progress, and this is this was actually before I posted on my Twitter, my X, my tournament predictions, and I said that Thailand will finish first, Singapore will finish second, surprisingly, I guess. Malaysia will finish in third, Cambodia in 4th, and East Timor in last place in Group A. So Thailand win the group, and Singapore progress in second place. That is my Group A prediction. Now, in terms of Group B predictions, with Vietnam, Indonesia, Philippines, Myanmar, and Laos, I have in first place, I actually have Indonesia finishing in first. I have Vietnam finishing in second. Unfortunately, I have the Philippines finishing in third. I have Myanmar finishing in... No, actually, I have Laos, surprisingly. I think Laos will get a win in this competition. It will be against us, probably. But Laos will finish in 4th, and Myanmar will finish in last place, surprisingly. Probably the big surprise, sort of this competition. Now, in terms of the semifinal, I think it would be Indonesia against Singapore and Thailand against Vietnam. Obviously, you can check out my full prediction on X, on Twitter, wherever, because I actually made it before the competition even begun. But I said Indonesia will beat Singapore in the semifinal over the 2 legs, just because of the gravitas of their team so far at the moment. I think they're in a good spot right now, Indonesia, and I just think Singapore just might not have enough over 2 legs. Whereas with Thailand versus Vietnam, if that's the semifinal, I do think Thailand has the better edge over Vietnam just because of tournament experience. Obviously, I know Vietnam does have that tournament experience, but I think Thailand just knows how to get things done. And I do think Thailand will make the final. So it's a Thailand versus Indonesia final. Obviously, the most played final of this competition's history. Thailand versus Indonesia. And obviously, all the time, it has been Thailand that has won it every time they've met in the final. But my winner to win the 2024 ASEAN Championship, believe it or not, whether you like it, hate it, love it, whatever, I have Indonesia winning the ASEAN Championship this year, winning their first ASEAN Championship title. I just think that maybe the gravitas of their team right now is in a good spot. Whether that means much for the World Cup qualifiers doesn't really matter at this moment. But I do think Indonesia will surprisingly win the tournament ahead of Thailand in the final. And that will be my prediction, Indonesia to win the competition. Now, in terms of a few awards, in terms of most valuable player or the MVP or whatever, best player award, I will say it will be Marcelino Ferdinand. Top goal scorer, I think I said Supernat Moneta, who's a Thai striker. He scored 2 goals against East Timor. Could have had a hat-trick, I'll be honest. Anyone could have had a hat-trick against East Timor. But yeah, so far that prediction looks good. That was before the tournament started, I'm just saying. In terms of best young player, I do think Marcelino Ferdinand will win it again. And fair play award, I guess maybe I can give it to Singapore. But yeah, I think it's a tournament to be excited about. Obviously, there are games tomorrow, but obviously the first watch along I'm doing on my channel is against Myanmar when the Philippines play against Myanmar. So obviously, I hope you guys get to join me in that. And if you do, please do hit the subscribe button on my channel. Obviously, here's my channel. Follow me on X, on Twitter as well. Give this video a like. Give me your thoughts and your opinions on the channel. Obviously, it's a tournament that I've started watching back in 2010, I believe so. And that was when Philippines beat Vietnam, probably Miracle of Hanoi. And if you do want to watch that video, there's a link of that in the description below. Obviously, to all the people that have asked for questions and shoutouts, apart from Cambodia representative, he decided to remain anonymous. But for everyone else, I would like to give a massive thank you for each and every one of them for helping me out with this video. But yeah, as I said, please do hit the like and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on X, Twitter, whatever. And I will see you guys in the next one in the live watch along for fucking Philippines against Myanmar. Peace.